Trollz, it's a hair thing. This show was my childhood. Despite it now being pretty much forgotten media, it's very nostalgic for me. I loved it as a kid. Though now as an adult, I do see many flaws within the character writing, the world building, and even some of the designs. Hence why I'm here. In today's video, I will be focusing on Topaz and Onyx. I'll be revisiting their characters, revamping their designs, and giving them a minor rewrite, same as I had done in part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, I went over the basics of the show there, as well as my redesigns for Ruby and Amethyst. But with that said, let's get on to Onyx and Topaz. The first character I am redesigning is Onyx. Out of the original 5, she's probably the one who actually thinks before she acts. She's basically the mom friend of the group, and honestly, Onyx was my favorite when I was little. Even now, I find myself favoring her. Although little me remembers her as a woman of color, I do not know why. So because that is how my younger self remembers her, that is how I'm going to be redesigning her. Looking at her original design, I feel like the original designers were trying to add some contrast with the random pastel pinks in her shirt, but I don't think they quite pulled it off. I don't really understand why they didn't just stick with the hot pinks that she already had in her hair belt things. Or, if they wanted to add contrast, add a different shade of purple. I don't know why they went with pastel pink in a polka dot shirt. Just no. As for her character, there isn't really much I want to change. I like that she's the voice of reason and the only one who will actually put Ruby in her place, so I am going to keep that. What I do want to move away from is the classic 2000s woe is me goth stereotype that she had. Instead, I want her to be more the quiet, stoic, strong type. She's mature but not annoyingly so. Unlike Ruby, she just knows when to pick a fight and when to walk away. For her redesign, I wanted to keep the gothic influence, so I gave her one of those skeleton hand shirts that were everywhere in the 2000s, along with those fingerless striped gloves and baggy jeans. Also, I wanted to lean much harder into the purple, especially in her hair, so what I did was I gave her these purple calico-like stripes that contrast with the golden jewelry and yellow hairband that I gave her. And, of course, I went with how I remember her and made her a woman of color. I also kept the beauty mark because I thought it was cute. And there's the finished Onyx. I will admit she's a little plain, but honestly, doing her hair drained me, and she's still gorgeous, so that's all that matters. On to Topaz. Topaz in the original show was the classic ditzy blonde. She's forgetful, easily distracted, and, well, not exactly portrayed as the smartest of the group. She was also given the residential fashionista character type, which is okay, I'll keep. But personally, there's a lot of things that I would like to change about that. I'll still keep her as the easily distracted one, but rather than it being because she's the dumb blonde, I'd like to imply that maybe it's because she has ADHD. She's not stupid, her brain just works differently. And I still definitely want to keep her love of fashion, but make it an actual passion rather than it just being a stereotype attached to a blonde character. Design-wise, I'm pretty much starting from the ground up. I'm keeping yellow as her main color, but I wanted to give her a more interesting motif. Instead of her just having a plain gemstone shape like she does in her original design, I'm taking inspiration from those chunky, grunge, metallic crosses that were everywhere throughout the early 2000s and early 2010s. And since she's like the resident fashion freak, I really wanted to lean into the alternative side of that aesthetic. So naturally, leopard print. A lot of leopard print. I gave her blonde hair with brunette roots and strands, taking some minor inspo from young Avril Lavigne, it up in those messy pigtails that were super popular back in the early 2000s with a blue beret. And of course, she has a leopard print top with one of those thin little scarves, golden jewelry to keep in with the yellow, and blue jeans to add some contrast to all of the yellow, as well as, of course, leopard print leg warmers. And there's our finished Topaz. I love her design. She's probably my favorite I've done so far after Ruby, though I'm not gonna lie, had to take several breaks in between this piece just from the leopard print alone because I drew it all by hand. I know, I'm so smart. Alright mothballs, that is all for today's video. Sorry this took so long to come out. I've gotten a bit busier than I thought I would this month, so finding time to draw, script, and record was a pain. Aside from that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, leave me a comment and a like to let me know, and maybe consider subscribing, as nearly 99% of you guys that watch part 1 are not subscribed. It helps me and the channel out more than you could think. And if you would like to support me elsewhere, I have an Instagram and a Patreon, as well as the time that this video is being uploaded, my commissions are currently open. With that said, thank you again so much for watching, and have a wonderful morning, evening, or night. Bye-bye!